to be impeached, and he was indicted. But there are important topics, and this is a very important topic. There's a brand new book out, Bachelor Nation, Inside the World of America's Favorite Guilty Pleasure. Amy Kaufman, welcome to the Big 550 KTRS.
Hi, thank you. I know. Thank God we can take a break from all the real news happening. Talk about The Bachelor.
Oh, this is real news. All right, first off, I get criticized as a red-blooded American male for being a Bachelor superfan, or actually I was for the longest time. I've since left the island for reasons we'll get to in a second. But this isn't just a female guilty pleasure, right? I mean, men love this show as well.
Oh, yeah. And they just won't admit it as much. Yeah, so many guys I talk to are like, yeah, my wife or my girlfriend makes me watch that. I'm like, do they make you watch it, or do you secretly enjoy it?
Well, not only that, they have plenty of bachelors who sign up when the girls picking the guys, right?
Oh, of course. Yeah. I mean, at first the creator of the show, Mike Fleiss, thought when he was creating The Bachelorette, which is where the woman has men competing for her, that men wouldn't want to do that they wouldn't want to compete like women do for men, and yet that was very wrong. There are plenty of guys ready to sign up.
Is this the authorized version or the unauthorized version? Did the producers help you with this book or no?
ABC and Warner Brothers did not help me with this book, no. But I still, I talked to a ton of contestants and producers who were willing to chat with me, but not as many from, people who currently work on it, because they do not want the curtain pulled back on sort of how this all works.
Aha. So this is the unauthorized version of The Bachelor Nation.
That's true, yeah.
So did you, lots of things to get to. You obviously took this under as a project because you were curious, right? I mean, what were the things you wanted to know about Bachelor Nation?
Well, I've been a fan for, at least a decade, and I live in LA, and a lot of my friends watch or work in the industry, and so I feel like we never really had a pure viewing experience. It was always like, well, a producer must have made them say that, or like that was dubbed, or that kind of stuff. And so, I wanted to know how it really worked. I wanted to know why these people were saying "I love you" after 4 seconds, or agreeing to get engaged so quickly. It seemed baffling to me, as it is so many other viewers, and I wanted to get better perspective on it.
All right. So how real is it? How much are they allowed? How much are they allowed to pick and choose who they want at the end of each round with the rose?
Well, early on, yes, the producers do have some say in that. It's like, well, you only like 4 girls and there's still 10 left. So can we just keep this special, exciting character around a little bit because they're good TV? But as it gets down to the final, the final 4, the more serious picks, the Bachelor and the Bachelorette really does have the final say.
How much of the troublemaker is created, and how much of it does it happen organically?
That was an interesting thing in writing the book, talking to people who had been the quote-unquote villains. A lot of them said they were complicit in their edits. Like, they realized that this was the way they were going to be cast by producers on the show, and so they thought, I might as well play into it. So, some people, I think, have an awareness that their personality is going a certain direction, and sort of play it up through the cameras. But other times there are people who've been like, wow, I did not say that, and I didn't think I said that many, mean, bitchy things, and yet I am edited that way. The power of editing cannot be understated here.
Right. Or maybe they just really are that bitchy.
That's true. A lot of producers would always say, we can't use something you didn't actually say. So, it's coming from somewhere.
Right. Bachelor Nation, Inside the World of America's Favorite Guilty Pleasure. But you can't argue that every single couple that has gotten married has stayed married. And how many kids do we have now? 6, 7 different kids from the other show?
Oh, God, I'm counting the kids. But, yeah, there are a few up. Ashley and JP have 2. Tristan and Ryan have 2. There might probably more than 6.
Yeah. So, I mean, in some ways, if you find the right one, it does have staying power.
Well, yeah, I think, you've been through so much. We look at, this last season, which ended in total mayhem when the guy, Ari proposed to someone and then broke up with her to get back with his runner-up and then ended up engaged to her. I think now, he has faced the wrath of America, and they have undergone so much scrutiny already that in a way you kind of feel like, well, they're going through a big trial. Maybe they'll just stick together in the end.
Right.
Yeah.
So you made news with the book, Bachelor Nation, when it was revealed, according to your reporting, that most of the candidates get kicked out at the end after they find out that they have some type of STD.
Well, it did say, I was writing about the casting process, and one of the producers said that the top reason people are rejected is because, everyone has to do blood and urine tests to see if they have any sexually transmitted diseases, because there's a lot of sex on this show and kissing. And the number one STD that people apparently have is herpes. And so, if you have that, you can't get through.
And so is it true that some contestants go all the way to the end and think they're going to make it and then are told, you need to go see a doctor?
Yeah, during the casting process. And what a way to find out that you have herpes. Not only can you not be on The Bachelor, but you really should go see your doctor, and we can't tell you why, but do it quickly. Yeah.
Oh man. All right. What about the fantasy suite, the infamous fantasy suite? Who spilled about the fantasy suite?
Well, I think as viewers, the show likes to imply that, the Bachelor or Bachelorette is always basically having sex with their final three. And that, in some cases, of course, that was true. But a lot of people said, I didn't want three women mad at me for doing that. So I was judicious about how I made those choices. And also some people were like, I was so tired from shooting all day that we just fell asleep. It wasn't as racy as you'd think behind closed doors.
So the fantasy suite isn't really as much of a fantasy as they make it out to be.
In some cases, no, not at all.
What about the rose ceremony? I've heard the rose ceremony is a nightmare in terms of trying to film it.
I mean, how so? It does last forever.
Yeah, how long it takes. They have to do it again and stand there. They have to stand at attention for 4 hours while they're going through this.
I know, and sometimes they're outside in really cold climates and wearing very revealing dresses. They do last really long. The first night is always the longest one because of course there's so many women there or men, and they are up to 6 a.m. Sometimes if you pay attention next season, you'll see that the sort of interviews, the reject interviews, are happening when the sun is up, the next day. So they've been up for a long time.
Right. What was the thing, Amy Kaufman, that while researching this book, you said to yourself, wow, I can't believe I just found out about that?
Well, one of the producers told me that during the early days of the show, they would track the menstrual cycles of the women because when living in the mansion, they would all sync up, and they would schedule the women's interviews during the time when they were, PMSing to make sure they were particularly emotional during the interviews. That was particularly shocking to me.
Oh, yeah, I would say they don't do that anymore.
I mean, I don't have confirmation of that,
Right.
But I think that might have been something that faded out over time.
Yeah. Are you more cynical or less cynical after reading the book about the show?
After writing the book,
Yeah.
way more cynical.
Way more cynical because
But then again, I'm still watching every week, so I don't know.
Because so why do women do this? I mean, these are attractive women. They seem to be well educated and can get a date on their own. What propels these women to go on a show and to be mocked and laughed at?
I mean, I think, now in 2018, a lot of it has to do with the fame that comes along with it. Social media is a huge part of the show, and people go on, get tens of thousands of additional followers in the span of a few weeks, and then can go on to become quote unquote influencers where they're selling, fit tea or gummy bears that supposedly grow your hair long, and you get like thousands of dollars for that. So there's a whole new weird career path that can pop up out of it.
All right, so who's made? I mean, okay, there's a couple of bucks to be made for a couple of weeks or a couple of months, but there haven't been any real breakout stars like the skinny girl from one of the housewife shows, right? There haven't been any of those from The Bachelor, have there?
There's an old bachelorette, Jillian Harris, who's from Canada. She hosts like a HGTV show.
Right.
There's a few things like that, but yeah, I wouldn't say someone who's like a billionaire, or multimillionaire like Bethany Frankel. No.
Right. Yeah. All right. Bachelor Nation is the book Inside World of America's Favorite Guilty Pleasure. Amy Kaufman, is there any chance this is turned into a movie or a miniseries or a Netflix series?
I don't know about that because there's already a show on Lifetime called Unreal, which is created by a former producer from The Bachelor. It's a scripted show, but, it's supposedly very similar to The Bachelor. So I think you should tune into that if you want to see sort of a fictionalized version of what happens on the show. What
has the current ABC and the current producers said about the book? Anything?
No, they're defiant, no comment, which I guess I'm fine with. I'd rather that than,
right, yeah.
getting into some fights, yeah.
Amy Kaufman, the book, Bachelor Nation, Inside the World of America's Favorite Guilty Pleasure. Amy, thanks for coming in. Good luck with the book.